Islam. It is July the 30th, 2021, and it is Holy Day for us as Muslims all over the earth. This is our Holy Day Friday, and it's a wonderful feeling to say that. Rhonda Arrington-Bey, Islam, Moorish American Nation, and Family. Okay, so today, my spiritual testimony is about, a lot of times being among a telepathic world. That's what I want to say. And as a spiritual woman, and learning how unclean, unnatural spirits are able to engage, not with your mind, sheaths of your mind. So at any time. So they literally work their way from the outside in, okay? In reference to trying to mental, spiritual engage. A lot of times, not a lot of times, it is a form of spirit possession, because the unclean spirits, they're unclean, but they're a spirit, okay? And if they engage your body sheath, what they have done is possess, okay, a portion of a vessel or a body, okay? So when these unclean spirits invade the mental mind or your body sheath, and you actually, where they are covering your entire body sheath, and they can cause you to move, block a thought. Blocking a thought, what that does is cause you to possibly forget a thought. Okay, so what happens is, because I've experienced this many times, so I know what's going on. One of the spirits actually invade. Okay, so they're using the telepathic code. They invade your entire sheath, okay? And in reference to, so that includes your mind, or the outer part of your mind, where the thought process, probably when you study anatomy, there's different sections of your brain that gives you cognitive reasoning. And so what these spirits do is invade certain parts of your mind that can affect you, affect your physical actions, your actions on the physical plane. So if you a thought you can't see, but if you forget a thought, 9 times out of 10, this has been my case, because I've tested. A spirit literally forced mental engage. So they use the unnatural telepathic code to mental engage, and then they're forced mental engage in the part of the mind that deals with thoughts, and then they blocking it. So what you can do is go back and think about the sentence or the words that you were thinking before, and recall that thought. These unclean spirits have been doing it for a long time. Now what they have done, they've been doing it for years. So once again, the hospitals, medical centers that were made or created for profit, not for healing. You have two types. You have those that were created for healing, and those that were not. And that's it is what it is. They made a lot of money because they kept diagnosing people, citizens, diagnosing. And what they were diagnosing, a lot of the doctors, the nurses, they knew what the government was using, whether it's an illegal immigrant that was able to do these things, that are unclean in spirits and have the telepathic code, or a legal immigrant, okay, that had the telepathic code, or citizens that were born here, okay. These are unclean spirits. They knew exactly what was going on, and they knew that the citizens on this landmass did not know. Okay, but they were making a lot of money, a lot of money. This is interesting because I just read an article about hospitals are diagnosing people with COVID-19 coronavirus. They're saying that they have the coronavirus, and they don't. They put, so the patients are going in there with flu symptoms, or saying, and they are telling them they have flu, but they put on the paperwork as when they give it to the agency they need to give it to, coronavirus. And what the government has been doing is giving these hospitals extra money per patient that they diagnose with the coronavirus. So now this is in 2021. So what this reporter, her name was Sandy, I can't remember her last name right off, but Morris posted it. She did a special report about it, and then I read another article about hospitals falsely diagnosing patients with the coronavirus, and the government is giving it and they're doing it purposely, and the incentive, they get paid for each patient that they diagnose. Not only that, they get paid for so they get paid for the patient they diagnose, and then they get paid for there's another incentive they get. I don't have it in front of me. So this is in 2021. Now if we go back 100 years, okay, let's go back 80. Let's go back 80 years. 80 years when when telepathy might not have been talked about as much. Or let's go back 60 years, 70 years, and you had masses. Or let's not even go that far back. Let's go back 40 years. Okay, 40 years, and you have people being diagnosed with different aches and pains, or even 25 years, aches and pains, mental illnesses. You have children that are not able to keep up in school, ADHD, all these diagnoses these hospitals were giving to children who weren't able to sit still, women having babies who the fetus comes out abnormal with some type of problem with the child, not realizing that the child could have been attacked, the fetus could have been attacked before the child was even born. So these are the things that connect today. So what's going on is they are showing those who have eyes to see what they have been doing for a long time. So what they have done with a lot of the unclean spirits that have chosen to behave and be slaves, either they've chosen to be slaves or they were forced to be slaves, is normalized. So they're normalizing acts, this harm, this brutality that was done to their parents, and so forth. Okay? And some of them it's definitely been done to them, because you can see people that are unhealthy. They are unhealthy. They are being recycled back and forth in the medical system. And it's like a program. Instead of them saying, no, this is not right, I know what's going on, I wasn't feeling this way before, where did it come from? They can't speak about it because they signed for this agreement in reference to some form of bondage. These are unclean spirits I'm speaking about, because a lot of them are. I can't say some are clean. Some may be clean. Who knows? But let me say, yes, there's some clean and some unclean. That makes more sense, and that is more balanced. But I'm really referring to those who actually that are unclean in spirit, and maybe have but through the programming and spiritual possession, Islam, they have family members that have been preyed upon as well, in reference to unclean spirits. And they probably connected the dots and chose to not talk about it. So they now some maybe don't feel like they have a choice. I mean, they literally, So if they're outside of constitutional law, and they literally feel like they have no choice, they have to go along with it. And that is bondage. The Constitution, when you're naturalized as a citizen, the Constitution represents freedom. So you have the freedom of speech. You have a freedom of liberty, freedom of life, liberty and justice, well-being. You have that right. But if those rights are taken from you, okay, and you have traded your rights for, you think, something extraordinary like a telepathic code, or to be changed into something else. You think you're thinking you're extraordinary, but all you are is a slave. All you are is a slave. All they have done is made an extraordinary slave. So that is the importance of the Constitution of 1787. So I want to say this real quick, and I'm gonna get back to, because this is dealing with thoughts of spirituality. And so, and the reason why I say slave is constitutionally, if they're not naturalized under laws of freedom, they're a slave. And not only that, a lot of them do the exact same thing that was done to them. So if they were abused, molested, raped, then they do, instead of them saying, no, I'm not going to ever do this again, they just behave the exact same way. And those are signs of slavery. That's a slave. One of the things I realized, a lot at my dreams, a lot of times I'm manipulated as a spiritual woman. Nightly, unclean spirits try to have sex with your mental space. You have to train yourself. I do. Imani and I train ourselves to wake up. They attack Imani in his sleep. He makes noises in his sleep, so I have to wake him up. So I wake up in the middle of the night a lot of times to pray, many times in the middle of the night. Sometimes I might only get like 4 or 5 hours of sleep. But I was thinking about how this can, and I like to also talk to myself when I do my prayers, or when I'm walking, I'm praying. If I'm thinking a thought out loud, sometimes I just say it. Sometimes I'm testing the waters, because when I'm walking, as an individual, I told the police this. I pray all the time against unclean spirits. Okay, but I don't act on, like I say, praise Allah for killing and destroying all unclean spirits, filthy kids to adults. But I am not killing physically unclean spirits. I am a lawful woman, and I'm under divine law, Surah 2, Ayat 190, 191. So but I have the right to speak prayers, freedom of speech, as I walk the way I want to. Okay? Islam, I'm not a slave. There's nothing that keeping me from talking about the telepathic code. There's nothing keeping me from talking about unclean spirits. I'm not a slave. Islam. And so, now they can send sharp pains, which they do, which also demonstrates what they have been doing for over 80 years. They can attack the mental space, to try to keep me from not using my constitutional rights of freedom of speech, which they have. But I continue to do so because I am under constitutional laws. What I was wondering, what I was speaking about, what I wanted to say real quick, I found this interesting because a lot of times these unclean spirits, they keep saying your mama. Sometimes they look at me. Predominantly, it has been the black, Negro, or African American, say your mother. Now, my mother was I can only say unclean because, when they say your mother and they looking at you, or they say your son, and they look at the police officer or police car as in a threatening way, all I can think of, that must be an unclean spirit, so if they say your mother, and something has happened to your mother, like for instance, my mother was murdered. And before she was murdered, she was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and she was diagnosed with mental illnesses. Okay, now that I know about the spirit world and different spirits, I know she was probably 10 times out of 10, she was possessed. So when unclean spirits, after one of their males try to engage, okay, or females try to engage, try to connect, and they see you're not receptive, they see I'm not receptive, or they maybe have their eye on my son, Arrington-Bey, and they see that we are standing tall on our feet, we're not receptive, and they start using threatening words like your mother, like, and then looking at you in an evil way, because a lot of times they have done some of these unclean spirits, they know the history of you, so it's not hard to find out who you are and your background. You know, so it's small. This landmass, the country is small. What they're doing is literally saying, either you let us subjugate you, these unclean spirits, or we're going to either try to, we're going to attack your mind as much as possible, molest you or rape you as much as possible, to make you, until you do things that maybe be perceived as you're crazy. All right? And what they'll do is, they'll go to the doctor will look at your history and say, do you have schizophrenia in your line? I mean, in your history? Anybody in your family? You know, they'll go through that psychological book that they have and say, in your history, has anyone been in a mental hospital? And so, once again, these hospitals, the same hospitals that get paid extra money for diagnosing people with the coronavirus, and they don't have the coronavirus, are the same hospitals with the same doctors and nurses that do these certain types of things. Okay? And so, in my case, it's literally have been the African American Black Negro, but they have been doing it. These are unclean spirits. Not all African Americans are unclean. Not all African Americans Black Negroes are unclean, and not all African Americans Black Negro are clean. So you have unclean and clean spirits and all. So in all phenotypes. Okay. So that's what I noticed with unclean spirits. So it was so interesting. Yesterday, I realized that for 2 weeks, I was, because CJ Birkin was scheduling me, not for 2 weeks, for a very long time, was scheduling me at 11 on Thursdays. I think maybe approximately the past month, it's been at 10. But for a long time, it was 11. But whatever reason, last Thursday and this Thursday, okay, last Thursday, I know I called, and Thomas told me real quick. He said, you coming at 10. And I forgot. I was still thinking I come at 11. That night, I was sleeping, and my dreams, I was being invaded. I slept light. Hearing a lot of bumping at American Center State. There's still African American accents, Spanish speaking accents saying brother, saying we paid, what else they say? Stay. This is at American Center State. They keep saying, oh, I love you. That thought just came up. They say that, literally, they sound like animals. Okay? Now, what kind of technology will that is used to do such a thing? Those that know technology and know spirit knows what's going on. So, anyway, so I came into work at 11. This past Thursday, same thing. Right before, because see, when you're sleeping, if you're among a telepathic world, these unclean spirits, not only are they invading your thoughts, okay? They are, during the day, they do it at night. And so they're probably invading thoughts while we're sleeping to try to send an imbalance. And then when you wake, once again, planning thoughts, you're supposed to be at 11. And I'm thinking this is dealing with spirituality because I'm dealing with unclean spirits. So this could be possibly what happened. So I had thoughts of coming in at 11. Now I didn't call this past Thursday, and I didn't look at the schedule because the schedule wasn't up. The schedule wasn't up last Thursday either. But I usually call, but I didn't call, and I've never done this before. I worked for Burger King since June of 2016, so it's been over 5 years, and I cannot recall me ever doing this. So, and in fact, I've been fighting for hours. I need hours to work at Burger. I'm like, give me the hours, CJ. That I can work. I've been saying this for a long time. So, coming in an hour late cuts back on my pay. So, when you're dealing with unclean, unnatural spirits, not only unclean and unnatural, they're diseased. They're diseased in many ways: venereal, spiritual, viral. They're just diseased. Then and they trying to amalgamate with you forcefully. Okay, and they see they're not able to do so, and maybe unclean spirit is sitting there, stalking, lusting, waiting, doing whatever they can to get you to subjugate, so you can be down to their level. The next step is mental invasion, all right, and trying to harm you in a different manner, in different ways, where you might feel all you can do is go to them, is run to them, where you feel so helpless, so you're not in freedom. So what they have done is implemented bondage. So when you feel so helpless and so scared, when one of the unclean spirits starts saying brother, usually when they say brother, they're referring to a black male, usually. You run to them, and so therefore you will behave as a slave like they are, okay? So then when they say the word we are the same, or they say that too, we the same, and you know that you're dealing with an animal or beast, you will be the same, because you have laid down, you have received this energy that is not like you. And as a divine natural being, you have broken your covenant to the Most High. You have broken your divine covenant to Allah. So so what I realized is like, okay, how I know yes, I can mix my days up. That happens. You can be so busy and you get your days mixed up, especially if you've been coming back, if you've been going to work on a